Hey guys, I wanted to share something God showed me, and the way that He did it was so cool. So I believe that this is going to be helpful for anyone who is seeking to, be used by God. I know in times like, God has shown me things and done things in my life, and I thought I was farther along than I was. And I had to be humbled in certain ways and fall to realize things are on God's timing, not mine. And God sees issues with us when we don't see it. So that's another reason why we need to trust God's timing. But I want to share this because how God told me was so cool how he showed me it. It was like I shared in my video yesterday how God's sometimes would speak to me right when I open my eyes in the morning. That way I knew it was coming from him and it was just really obvious, right? So I wake up one morning and God shows me an image of this retaining wall that I had built. And it wasn't I don't want to call it a vision, but it was a visual. He brought back to memory the day I was building this wall, and he asked me a question along the lines of, what's the process for this? And so I started thinking about how this retaining wall was built. So the purpose of a retaining wall is to retain material, right? Keep material on one side from spilling over. So there's different ones you can build. So this one was I was working in these people's backyard, and their backyard, if I was looking where my phone's at, in that direction towards the yard, and I seen the whole yard, it would go from their back porch, and their yard started sloping out down to there's a fence right here, right? And they wanted to bring this slope up with a retaining wall right by the fence, so that way they would have a little more walkable ground on their backyard. And they also wanted to make a little garden section right next to the wall. So they wanted to bring up the slope like this and put a garden here. The retaining wall would be here. So I say all that just to line up what I'm going to say. So God was like, what's the process? And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, we had to build up this wall before we did anything else. God was showing me there's a process to what I'm doing. And sometimes it's hard for us to trust his process, right? But God knows what we need, and God knows where we need to be built up. So I'm going to get to a point here. This will, I think, be helpful. So we had to build up this back side of the wall with retaining wall bricks. And then, so I was just thinking that, I'm like, okay, build up the bricks. And he's like, okay, then what's next? And so I'm thinking, after that, after the wall was built, we were just pouring in so much material, right? And so much dirt and backfill, right? And at that point, the wall's built and you can pour in what you need to without the things spilling over, making a mess. And you get to keep basically the work that you put in. It's still a process, right, to be filling in, but if that retaining wall is in the right place, nothing spills over, you don't lose anything, and everything's built up. So I was just going over the image of what we were doing, and kind of getting revelation from the Lord. He was telling me like this retaining wall is what I'm doing in you, you know. Gosh, this is deep. So there was a process to it. It says that if you put new wine in old wineskin, it will burst, right? So if God wanted to do everything he wants to do through me with the person I used to be, it would never work, right? So there is a process of us, like the wall was basically a picture for my character and the things that God wanted to do in my life before he could pour in the things he wanted to do, right? He was just showing me, like, I have all this stuff for you that I want to give you, but your character can't keep it right now. So that's true with all of us. Our gifts can take us places, but they can only... So our gifts will take us somewhere, but our character will keep us somewhere, right? So this is why a lot of, like, you know, good opportunities don't work out for people who are immature. Not even just spiritually, just in the physical world, like someone that has no experience, or their character's bad, they can't be trusted with certain things, so they get given a lot of money and they, you know, their character isn't right, so it ends up destroying them, right? People win the lottery, they don't know how to manage money, it ends up being the worst thing ever. So it's the same thing spiritually. Sometimes we think we're farther along and we want God to give us all these things, but it's like God knows what he's doing, and sometimes he's keeping us from destruction. So we gotta trust the process and let you know, our character be formed the way that it needs to be. So this is relevant for everyone who wants to be used by God, that there is a process to it, right? And it reminded me of the movie The Field of Dreams. One of the characters, like, wants to build this baseball field, and someone tells him, like, basically they say, if you build it, they will come, you know. So a lot of times we're focused on the wrong things. We're focused on like the end goals and stuff, but the process is most important, because once the process of us being built up, like, those things will come to us. It says that in Matthew 6:33 to seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all the other things will be added unto you. So it's like, that's what I'm trying to say, is like, we need to be focused on being built up in him, right? And then everything else kind of falls into place once our character's there and God's smoothed a lot of things out in us. But we need to be patient with that and trust his timing. So that's just what I wanted to share today. It's a quick message, but I just thought that was really cool how God showed me, like, a real life example of what I was doing. Just told me, like, first thing in the morning, and gave me all this. It was just cool, right? So it gave me kind of peace with just realizing, I'm like, he's basically telling me, like, chill out, like, slow down, like, this process is important, you can't rush this, and rushing it will be detrimental to what I want to do through you. So once your character is formed and you're grounded in the Lord, right, now there's nothing stopping you from him being like, okay, this is what I want you to do, boom, now go do it, right? It's just like if you had a kid, right? If you had a kid that you had trained up and you have confidence in him, like, you wouldn't want to send him into a situation that he couldn't handle, right? But once you know he's capable and he's been formed and built up, like, and you have confidence in him, like, you're gonna want to see him go out and just do it. You're not gonna be withholding. So the waiting process is for our good. And like I'm speaking to myself even right now, because I'm not there yet. Like there's a lot of things God's still doing in me, but I can see now. God told me this probably like 8 months ago, and I realized like God has been doing this in my life and building my character, testing me where I've been weak, allowing me to go through temptations so I could pass them and be built up, right? Like building up my wall, building up just myself and Him, right? So eventually God's gonna just tell me what to do, and I'm gonna be able to do it, right? And I believe that's already started in a lot of ways for me, but I'm still in this process right now where I'm in a lot of like, I'm still in a season of being rooted and grounded, you know, and solidified in Him. And I realize that. So anyways, I hope this was helpful to you guys, because this isn't just true for me, this is true for, like I said, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.